with more River Talk. Oh, man, I rode by my good buddy Marshall Biddle's place the other day, the Jerry Cox Company.
You did?
Poked my head in and said, y'all got any barbecue sauce? Marshall comes running out and says, yeah, we got barbecue sauce, best in the world. And he had a jar of this in his hand, friends. Moonshine.
Just
barbecue
happened to have
sauce.
your name
It just
on
happened
it.
to have my name on it.
Isn't that
so,
weird?
Available now at the Jerry
Yeah.
Cox Company. They make it possible for us to chew the fat with folks like Don Bowne. Hey, buddy.
Good morning.
I heard a rumor that you might be a Trump supporter.
Yeah, there's vicious rumors out there,
Yeah.
but you still got to prove it today.
Have you got red hats for Trump on everything you own now?
Pretty much, yeah. Been doing this for about 6 years.
Okay.
Met him in Myrtle Beach when he came into town for the
For those
convention.
two rallies? Yeah, those
For the
rallies.
first
Well, he
one,
had a
yeah.
little something on a Saturday morning. I was supposed to have gone to that.
Yeah,
Well,
I didn't make
he
it.
did February 19th,
Yep.
2016.
right.
And then we had our primary the 20th, the next day on Saturday. So I went to the rally, and that's the first day I've ever got near him. And I was probably 20 feet away. Never met him, and to this day I haven't met him. Never shaken his hand, but you know,
I was down there when he showed up at the headquarters back in 2016.
that was 16th Avenue North.
Exactly.
I was also there
Yeah.
putting some stuff together. Yeah, I
All
was
right.
there that day.
We might have been standing next to each other. I might have pickpocketed
I
you.
have a
You never
video
can
of
tell.
somebody took of us standing there. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I went to that little building one time, and the folks from Politico showed up, and they actually started asking me questions, and they took me out of context. Imagine that.
Of course.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no.
That happens sometimes.
Never. Not that I know
How can
of.
you
No.
take me out of context?
Well,
Well, I'm intrigued by this. Red hats for Trump. Is it true that you were at the forefront and leading the charge on that?
Well, it's quite an interesting story. Is I never really voted in my life. I had some restaurants in New Hampshire, and so I always stayed politically neutral because I didn't, I had to sell my hot dogs to everybody. And then all of a sudden, I don't remember what year it was now, but George Bush kind of upset me with something he did when he was president. So I did a
Now, is that the first George Bush or
the
Bush?
first,
Okay.
yeah. And so, not being politically savvy, I decided I'm going to do a protest vote. So I voted for Ross Perot because I didn't like what he did.
I appreciate that.
And I got to tell you,
I knew that was coming.
then I stopped voting again forever because of that.
Right.
I learned my lesson that just can't do that. So I stayed politically neutral my whole life and didn't get involved at all. And from New Hampshire, because I heard a lot of different things about Trump, a real hard-nosed businessman, and he would get you to sign on the dotted line, and he
Right.
would hold you to it. And if you were
Oh,
late,
yeah.
you paid. But I always admired him for being that strong of a businessman, but I never really thought of him as anything else except maybe, a little bit of an ego type of guy.
Well, sure.
A little bit.
Just a little bit here and there around here.
Yeah.
So I didn't get involved, but then all of a sudden in around, I think it was September or October of 2015, he got off a plane in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he had just a plain red Make America Great Again hat, and he waved it. And that second, I saw him coming out the door of the plane. I said, oh my God, I've got to do something. He reminded me of Ronald Reagan in a white cowboy hat, just the way he waved that hat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I
Okay.
said, I'm going to start a movement.
Yeah.
So I told my wife, I said, I'm going to start a movement, Red Hats for Trump. And we can't say on air what she said, but I'm going
I
to tell
can
you.
only imagine it would have been a juicy one. You've been sitting on the sidelines all that time.
It was real juicy because she thought I was gone crazy.
Yeah.
That I was going to start a movement, Red Hats for Trump.
Well, the Democrats all had movements through this whole thing. You know?
So she really didn't think that was a smart idea. And I said, well, everybody starts with an idea, the hula hoop, the pet rock, the invisible dog.
Yeah, the chia pet.
And I said, I'm going to start Red Hats for Trump. So I went down to 16th Avenue North, and I saw a lady named Jerry McDaniel.
Oh, yeah.
She was working for Trump at the
Right.
time.
Mhm. Right.
And so it took me quite a while to get in her office because everybody wanted to be in there, and who am I? I'm a nobody, and I wouldn't tell anybody why I was there. So I finally got in to see her, and I said, I'm going to start a movement, Red Hats for Trump. She looked at me kind of, what? I said, no, I want to start a movement. I want to support him.
Yeah. That's good impersonation.
A businessman, doesn't owe anybody anything. You know, by the time you get to be governor or higher, you know, if I give you $10, you're not going to call me back. If I give you $100, yeah, probably not. If I give you 1,000, you may return every so often my calls. But if I give you 10,000, 20,000, 100,000, guess what? You're going to return my call.
Yeah, you're unforgettable.
So the point is, you know,
Give
when
me
you
100 and I'll
Yeah,
call you
I'll
all
call
this
you.
week.
That's
Call you all
right.
This week. Give me 100.
Monopoly money start okay. But the problem is, you know, to me, that's how I always felt about politics. So neither one was anybody I wanted to be involved in. I'm conservative by nature. I believe in the Second Amendment, the religious freedom. So Jerry said, well, you don't have any idea what you're up against. I said, what am I up against? I just want to start a movement. She said, well, if you make it successful, it's going to be a lot of work and probably a lot of money. I said, all right, we'll see. So I started local. I bought some just plain red buck hats. And I got a sticker that said Trump 2016. Didn't even have pence on it. And I stuck stickers on the front of red hats. And I got 14 people to meet me, and we took pictures. And that was how it started. And that started in January of 16. And Jerry gave me a picture. A little girl in Connecticut painted a picture for Trump and gave it to Trump, and she got some copies. And she gave that to me and said, well, if you're going to start that, and she gave me a T-shirt, and I have that in my office, in my Trump room. And that's basically where it started. And probably, I gave away probably right now well over 3,000 hats. I buy them and give them away. And when I go out for dinner, I wear them, and somebody says, I like your hat. I say, hey, you got just a second, I'll tell you a story. And, you know, you say you like my hat, you get a hat free, I sign it, and I number it. Well, the first 1,000 to 1,500, I didn't number, I didn't sign anything. I just gave them away just because I wanted recognition for Trump and his red hat. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And then after I gave away, I don't know, 1,000, 1,200, somewhere up in there, a guy calls me up and says, Don, do you have any idea how many hats you've given away? I said, not really. I just buy them and give them away and take a picture or something with the people. You got to start numbering them. So I started with number 101 because I'd given so many away.
This is after the 1,000.
Oh, yeah, at least 1,000. Probably,
Yeah.
it could probably a lot more.
Right.
And so I started with number 101, and the first hat went to a little girl waitress up at Greg Norman's. And she was from Russia, doing it during, and she come over, and that really intrigued me that the first one I gave away, and that was hat number 101. She said, in a kind of a broken English, she says, I like Trump. You know, however she said it, I can't.
Sure, yeah.
And so I said, you know what? And so she started number 101, and I never signed them. And I just, what I did is I numbered them for about a year, maybe 6-8 months or a year. And then all of a sudden, a comedian friend of mine from New Hampshire come down, Bucky Lewis. He still has a show up there. And I used to have some restaurants, so he used to come and do a lot of, you know, entertaining and stuff for me. And he said, Don, you got to start signing them. I said, no, listen, hold it. Time out, folks. I'm not going to sign any hats. It's bad enough I got to start numbering them. So then I started signing them around 400. And this past summer up at the Victory office, a guy comes up to me and says, hi, Don, how are you? And I says, good, how are you? And he said, I hear you're signing hats. And I said, yeah. He says, here's mine. Will you sign it? It was number hat 389, unsigned. So I signed it this year, but he's been holding that for almost 3 years, 4 years, and he's finally got it signed.
That's cool.
It's just, yeah, it's been fun. And I almost gave up doing it after about 6 or 8 months because I was so involved in it, and I didn't see anybody wearing red hats. And I was really getting discouraged. You know, Jerry was right. It's a lot more work than I guess I put into it. I meant to do it. I thought I was doing it.
Well, you know, people probably, after a while, were afraid to wear the hats.
Well, no, this
You
is
know
in
what
the
I'm saying?
beginning. This
Oh,
is,
was?
no, this is
Yeah.
way before. It was
Yeah, but
never,
they hated him way before.
Well, yeah, that didn't change.
They hated him coming down the escalator. Yeah.
Didn't change. Well, the big thing was what happened was when in around September of 16, and right when it started in January, I hired a plane with a banner and flew it all up and down the beach on the 19th when he was here, and I think his pilot saw it. I can't prove that. And then I flew it up and down the beach for the 20th, which is our primary, and it said Red Hats number 4 Trump, because it couldn't say FOR because it was just too long for the little plane to pull it. So right away, my wife was pretty nervous about what I was spending. That was a big hit in January. What do you have, 16, 17 people that he had to go through, plus then the general?
Right, sure, yeah.
And so, and by the time the general came, so basically, I think it was September, somewhere near, in North Carolina, I was just about ready to quit. I saw a bunch of people in the crowd at one of his rallies with red hats. And I said, yes. And I've never turned back. We've got about 122 chapters of it all over the country.
Wow.
There's somewhere around 30 million people wearing red hats. Not all mine. Mine have got the gold. But a lot of people, Trump 45, Make America Great Again, all the different red hats that are out there for Trump. There's probably between 30 and 35 million. I had a guy that I paid a little bit of money for to do a little survey, and he said, I think there's 30 or 35 million. And I said, okay, can you prove it? He says, no. And I said, well, what'd I just pay you that few $100 for? He said, because nobody can prove I'm wrong. So I said, all right, I'll use that number.
Okay.
Well,
I mean,
That's worth a couple $100 to be able to lie.
yeah, that's right. And get away with it.
that's right.
So
I got a
man.
few ideas. I
Yeah.
that guy's number.
Yeah, we need to talk.
So that, you know.
Start today with my wife. I'm the world's greatest lover.
Yeah.
Well, and so basically that kind of is where it is. And I knew that I had, and of course now this is a double-edged sword, but I knew that I had done what I wanted to do, what I set out to do to get notoriety for Trump when they started calling the hat racist. Mm-hmm. It was on a night show, and I'm in doing something in my office, and my wife says, you got to come out here and look at this. So she rewound it. And I think it was on CNN that she was watching or flipping the channels, and the hat is racist. So I didn't realize at the time. I thought this was good. But then I realized, whoa. But, you know, if you look at his rallies the last 2 or 3 years, there was thousands and thousands and thousands of red hats.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And that started right here in Myrtle Beach in January of 2016.
Well, now, what about your finances? I mean, you broke yet or what?
Pretty much.
I mean,
This is a paid
what the
gig,
heck?
right? Can I get the money before I leave?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I noticed you walked over here.
Yeah, how do you like barbecue sauce, pal?
That's right. Jack could use some help selling some sauce for you.
All right, well, we can maybe work that out.
Yeah.
Commission basis only.
That's
I'm
it.
sure.
We come up with a red hat sauce.
There you got it. I love
Even
it.
get you a lawyer for you and your wife when she leaves you. I mean, but I mean, have you got anybody contributing?
No.
You don't. You just finance this thing.
I did.
Wow.
I did it all myself.
Yeah.
Only because I figured that, you know, I joined the United States Navy in the submarines in 1965.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I raised my hand and said, I'm going to defend this country, foreign and domestic. And to this day, I never expected that I would be defending this country domestically.
Yeah.
I got to tell you,
I get it.
my heart bleeds for
Oh,
that. So this is the way I give back. I mean, some of my friends kind of think I'm crazy because I did it. A lot of my friends, I get a lot of people that really, you know, call me, text me, do everything, because it's something that they can grab hold of. That, that really makes it interesting.
Be a part of something.
Yeah, and so it's been fun. It's really been fun. And it's been a little expensive because we have to go out for dinner because nobody's going to come up my door and knock on my door and say, hey, I like your hat.
Right, sure.
So I have to be in public. But this is a destination vacation area. So it worked here better than anywhere in the country because I've given hats to every state in the United States, not Japan, China, England, Australia, Canada. People have been here on vacation. And
Wow.
I've given them a hat. They've said they like the hat. So it's been probably one of the most rewarding things I think any one individual can do is come up with an idea that is so easy. I mean, anybody sitting at this table, anybody going down the street, anybody could come up with that idea.
Yeah, but you yourself are now a self-made celebrity, really.
Well, I mean, I don't.
They want
think,
your autograph.
I
That's
don't
cool.
think. Well, that was because somebody said you've got something started that people ought to be able to handle. And a lot of people now will come up and ask for it. And to me, it's just never been it's just something I started that I like doing. I feel very proud of doing it. And I met a lot of great people.
Well, how can we find you online, Don? I mean, you have a
Well,
website,
I'm on Facebook.
page?
I'm on Facebook, Don Bowne, just BOWNE,
Okay.
Don Bowne. And we have a website that we're changing over a little bit now. It was Red Hats for Trump, and we're changing over to Red Hats America.
Okay.
Because we're trying to be a little bit more inclusive and get more people involved. But
Okay.
Yeah.
it's been
That's cool that you've branched it out. Red Hats.
well, we're trying to
America,
get more
yeah.
people. When I first started,
You're going to start getting politicians who want your endorsements. What's going to happen?
that's happened a couple of times already. But because
I would want it.
Red Hats is so diversified, we have to be very careful because you may like one person, you may like something else, and so all Red Hats are welcome and part of it. In the general election, we will definitely get behind whoever's there and push it big
All right.
hard.
That sounds like a plan. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I got something that I want to. We got a minute here?
Yeah.
Well, I was given a little bit of a head start that a couple of people here liked Trump.
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So
daggone right.
what I brought is hat number 1551
Uh-huh.
and hat number 1552.
Which one do you want, Deacon?
Well, you're the head of the show.
Well,
I'm
you can have
co-host.
15,
You take
51.
51, I'll take 52.
Okay.
51,
Yeah,
52.
thanks a lot.
All right.
And that
This
way
is great, man.
we just get a picture together before we leave.
Yeah.
But this is what I do, and
Oh,
that's
I
how,
love it.
that's how
Well,
many.
Thanks, Big
That's-
Don.
Yeah,
that's
awesome
cool,
right
man.
there. How about that?
What do you think of
Oh,
that,
now
baby?
this is a show. Now,
Oh,
all
I'm
right.
telling you
Oh,
right
we're
there.
ready to rock
I've been
and roll
branded
now, baby.
now.
Be careful. You
Uh-oh.
get Biden down here shutting you
That's
down.
right.
I ain't worried about that. And to prove it, watch these commercials, and I promise I'll be right back with more River Talk after this.